and welcome to another episode of Mr. Puzzle. Today's episode is about these 3 puzzles here, or they are not really puzzles. They fit in the category impossible objects. That means they look like it's impossible to disassemble and reassemble them because of their geometry. For example, this is the first one here, and you can see if you look at it in detail, it should be impossible to disassemble this in this direction. But also, if you look from this side, it seems to be impossible to remove it in this direction. However, there is an easy trick how to separate them, but this is not really the challenge. So the challenge is rather a mental challenge on how you can imagine, or if you are capable to imagine, how these 2 parts come apart. And if you're interested to get one of these puzzles, just check out the link in the video description as usual. And now let's look at the second one. Okay, this is the second one. So these 2 look pretty much the same actually. From the front they are nearly identical, not completely the same, but nearly. And from the top, this one is convex and this one concave, but they are nearly the same. So let's just get the third one out of the box and let's just check it out how this one looks. Oh, okay. And this one looks completely different as the other 2. And again, it looks like it's impossible because I cannot pull it out or separate these 2 parts in this direction, but also not in this direction. Very interesting, and I can imagine it's quite tricky to imagine how they can be disassembled if you have no experience with these kind of puzzles. These are not the first one I do of this kind, therefore I have already some ideas how it's possible to disassemble them. The quality of these puzzles is quite good. They are entirely made out of aluminum, anodized in green and silver, and before it seems also they have been brushed before. You can see it here on the structure of the surface. So in general, very well made, also very precise. There's a small amount of free play, but they fit very well. And after the spoiler break, I'm gonna try to solve these puzzles, of course, and we can have a look on how these come apart, because this is gonna be the interesting part today. And after the spoiler break, let's just try to get these things apart and understand how they are made. So today, as I mentioned, it's not really about the puzzling, it's about imagination, to understand on how these things have been designed and created and can be disassembled. Let's start with this one here first and have a closer look on this one. I expect these are, as I mentioned also in the introduction, very low difficulty puzzles, maybe level 1, because there is a simple trick, I guess, how to take them apart, but this is not the trick. Let me just think 1 minute about how this thing could be made and how it could be disassembled. If we look at the puzzle, we can see there is this convex shape here from the top, and there is a dovetail joint here from the front and rear, which is looking completely the same. And we can of course not take it out to the top, but also we cannot slide it out, because if we try to slide it out, it would be catched here or blocked by this concave shape. So the only possibility to do so is probably somehow twist it and take it out, or maybe twist it completely and just shift it out in one direction. So let's just see if I have been right and how they open up. Ah, okay, now it's loose. Yeah, okay. And here you can see it already how this works. I push it in one direction. You can see how it slides apart, and wow, this is super cool, super cool. And if you look here in detail on how this thing is made, you can clearly see the advantage of the times we're living in. This is probably CNC milled, so manually or with a conventional CNC machine, this would be probably impossible to manufacture and align these parts that well. I don't know. If you know it, if this is possible or not, just let me know in the comments. You can see how well these slide and how they come apart. This is amazing. And here you can also see the magnet, and this is the magnet that's inside, and will lock the puzzle in place. Now the next one, and after I will continue with this one, because after I've seen how this one worked, I guess that this one is working without trying it or thinking too much about it, Dovetail is rather the same size, probably the same height, and I would guess now this one is working exactly opposite, so that on this one, instead of shifting in this direction as we did before, I will probably have to shift in this direction, so it's kind of similar. So let's just have a look if I'm right. Difficult to open. Let's try other way around. Okay, this one was other way around, and I think I was right again. You can see this one is sliding. Oh, I locked it again. This one is sliding in the opposite direction, and due to this different shape, he had to place the pin in the top area and not in the bottom area. They have a slightly different radius, but they come very close. But this one was kind of obvious, so as soon as you made one of these two, it's kind of obvious how the other one works. You can't put it in like this, you need to slide in like so and then twist it in, and then it will come together and click like so, and then you can shift it in and lock it. Last but not least, this one looks completely different as the other. You can't take it apart in this direction because of this tapered area. You can't take it out to the top. So the only thing, I mean, you can apply a lot of logic here. The only way how this thing can be disassembled is it can't be disassembled to the top. This is impossible because this will block it and hold it in place. So there must be some shifting movement, which in this case difficult to see, but I would expect after I've seen the previous ones and how they slide out, that they dive below the dovetail joint, both of them. I would also expect that this one, if you shift it in this direction, moves probably to the bottom side and slides out. So let's just see if I'm right on this one. And yes, I was right. You can see how these come apart, and this looks also very cool. And this is so satisfying. Very cool. Puzzle, I would not call it a puzzle. I would call these, as I mentioned, impossible objects. They look like they are impossible to assemble and disassemble, but in reality there is a possibility, of course, as usual for the impossible objects. But these things are very nice to display them on your desk or in your shelf. They are always nice conversation starters. And I hope it was also interesting for you to look at these things and discuss on how they are working. If you're interested to get one, as I mentioned, link in video description. So that's it for today. I hope you liked this episode and this type of impossible objects. If yes, just hit the like button, subscribe below. Let me know your feedback about the puzzles, and if you have any puzzle recommendations for me, just also let me know in the comments. Until next time, keep on puzzling.